Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello.
Happy Friday and welcome to Open Office Hours. I am Crystal Hinkle. I'm part of the team here at Syncro. I'll let the ladies introduce themselves.
Hey everybody, it's Tatiana. Welcome.
Hi everyone, I am Brandy. Welcome. It's Friday.
Yay! Yes, happy that it's Friday. It's beautiful here. So thank you all for joining us today. For those of you that have joined us in the past, thanks for coming back. And also, I think most of you probably know the drill, but for those of you that have never joined Open Office Hours, welcome. We're so happy to have you. We love doing these. Just a couple housekeeping things. We use the Q&A. That's the best way for us to manage questions as they're coming through. So I always say this because I feel like it's rude. If I'm looking over here, I'm looking at the questions coming in, and I'm like paying attention to something else. So I like to say that. But otherwise, all questions are welcome. It really doesn't matter where you're at in your journey with Synchro. Maybe you've never looked at the app. Maybe you have been a payer for 3 years. I don't know. Wherever you are at in your journey, all questions are welcome. And we use the Q&A. So what we have started doing for the last month or so, I think now, is we've kicked it off with a deep dive. So with that, I'm going to hand it on over to Brandy.
I feel like this one is only appropriate for me. If you have been joining us for the last few months, I thought this feature was released. And we're going to be talking about upselling opportunities today. So I'm really excited about this one. It's another place for you guys to make more money and to not have to remember, hey, if I'm selling this, there's a lot of other things I could be selling with it. It's just going to pop up on your screen for you. So what we're talking about here in your products and services section. So if I pop into products and services, you can create essentially any product that anytime you are adding this to an invoice, you're using the point of sale system, or you're adding it to an estimate, it's going to pop up and say, hey, you've added this item. Do you want to add these other items that go along with it? So what I have done, and what you'll do, is you'll create different products in your products and services section. And I just created a laptop. And then what I did under that particular laptop is you're going to see a tab for upselling opportunities. So I've added a couple additional things, a wireless mouse, an extra charging cord, anything that you feel would go with this. Now, these don't have to be hardware items. You could have a product that, maybe it's your MSP fee and your monthly MSP fee, and an upsell opportunity might be antivirus, it might be backup. You can have as many different things as you would like to. So what you're going to do is you're just going to search your products. So you'll want to keep those, you'll want to have those products created before you add those to an upsell opportunity. And I'm also going to link the products and services, the upselling opportunity KB for you guys. But now I'm going to go create an invoice, and I'm just going to create a new one here. And I'm going to make one for Larry, famous Larry. And I'm going to add an item here. Now I'm going to just add that laptop that I've created, and I'm going to add that line item. Now it's going to pop up to me and show me my upselling opportunities. So yes, I actually do want to add both of those into the cart. And if you're using point of sale, you could ask your customer, hey, would you like, just like if you're going to Best Buy, right? And they ask you if you want the extended warranty. Right here, you can just sell them some extra things that go along with it and make some more money for you. And it's the convenience for the customer as well. So it's really easy, really straightforward. But I really love this feature, and I hope you guys do too.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brandy. Yeah, we love this feature. It is phenomenal. All right. Well, I'm seeing some questions come in already into the Q&A, so I'm going to take the top two here. Dean wants to know, does Synchro handle multi-currency? And the answer would be currently no. We do have different locale changes. So, I mean, but for the most part, we bill in USD, and then if you are billing your customers based upon your locale, you can't necessarily, like if you were on the border of the United States and you worked in Canada, for example, we don't at this point have a really great way to handle that multi-currency. And then Derek wants to know, just ran my first run of invoices for time billed on tickets. I'm seeing a bunch of 0-hour line items on the invoices. Is there a setting to not have these show up? So I'm assuming this means that on a reoccurring invoice, let me just share my screen because I want to make sure that I'm answering this properly. I'm assuming this means you have add any pending ticket charges and some of those line items are zeroed out. Because I was going to show you at first, I was like, oh yeah, I have an answer for that. Allow, like you can have it make sure that we wouldn't generate a reoccurring invoice if it totaled zero, but that doesn't necessarily answer the question that you have. So I don't think if you're using adding any pending ticket charges, I don't think there's any way to not have those show up. You can, of course, get rid of them. You can have the invoice generate and then you can edit and then send it.
He said no recurring invoices that pull ticket notes.
He said no reoccurring invoices that pull ticket notes. Do you guys
And charges?
Pending ticket charges, probably.
So
I don't know.
I might need to, we will probably need to get a little bit more clarification. I think one thing that I do want to just mention here too, just because I always like to show this because it's a setting that sometimes it gets missed a little bit. So just because you're talking about pulling ticket notes / charges, I do want to just show you, if you head to your admin section, you can define what like that description it looks like when it comes from a ticket. So again, this might not be specifically answering Derek's question, but I think it's worth just showing that you can predefine essentially what you want in that line item. So if you go to ticket preference and additional settings, if you scroll to the bottom, you'll see like customized text for ticket timer charges, and we have something populated here. If you just use this tooltip, you'll see all the tags that are available. But again, sorry, Derek, I might need a little bit more information if I've not fully answered your question. It might technically be a feature request if you wouldn't want to pull 0 line items if they were pending, if you were adding pending ticket charges. All right, who's next?
I can go next. Next question here is from Manuel. He says, I'm new here and wondering if there is a way to have one charge on invoices for all tickets and then a list of tickets on a secondary page. For example, 10 tickets with 4 hours of chargeable time, and you would have labor 4 hours and then tickets and detailed listed on a subsequent page. So I will share what the capabilities that we currently do have. Manuel, I know you are really good at customizing your ticket templates, so you probably know what I'm going to show here. But for everyone else who isn't aware or who hasn't played with it within this section yet, I do recommend it. If you go over to the admin section under PDF and email templates, this is where you would customize those invoice templates. You can also control what information gets pulled into these line items when you're editing them. There's a ton of different available tags that you can utilize. You also have, if you go over to the back to the admin section again, under the ticket settings and additional settings, or ticket preferences and additional settings here, right under this section here, we show this section all the time on open office hours, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time diving into this, but you can customize the text for ticket timer charges and text for ticket charges. So this is where everything exists in order to customize what this invoice looks like and what information will get pulled into there. Separately, I think if you haven't taken a look at this section as well, under the reports, if you go over to your customer detail report, this is another way to show your customer everything that all the work that you've done for them. So if you're looking to show a more detailed list, like if you edited the invoice to what you want it to look like, and you separately on a separate page wanted to show more details of the work that was completed on the ticket or the tickets during the different time frame for the specific customer, this is where you would use this customer detail report. Total tickets resolved so far for the month, how much time you spent resolving, even how long each ticket was open. So again, I don't know if I'm directly answering your question, but at least that will point you in the right direction of kind of where you would adjust all those settings. And I think working hand in hand with the report and the ticket template and the invoice template will kind of get you into the spot that you need to be. Next question right at the top here is from Andy. He says, hi, can you quickly demo SMS messages? Is it possible to manually send an SMS to a customer that is logged in the ticket? For example, not an automated message. Also, is there a number that the customers can use to create a ticket by SMS? Really good question. We actually just did a recent update to this. I'm going to go ahead and just go into any ticket here. You'll notice that if you have SMS enabled for the customer, if you have a valid phone number for them, so I'm going to go ahead and enable this. I don't know how long it'll take to populate, but usually if you have it enabled here, you'll have another drop-down menu option right here in the communications section that will say SMS, and then you would be able to send text updates to your customer. If you guys are if you guys aren't aware, you get 200 SMS credit messages within Synchro's just built in per month. They don't roll over, and you get a fresh new 200 ones every month. And then separately, you do have, if you're looking to have your customers create their own tickets, we just recently shipped an update through Twilio. I think that's how you pronounce it. Correct me if I'm wrong. But you can now bring your own SMS account. And so this is where you can specify your own phone number if you're utilizing this company. So within Synchro, I'll drop this KB into the chat box for you guys to all see, but basically it does allow you to configure multiple inbound and outbound phone numbers. So that is what we recommend. Again, within Synchro, we don't bill you for any of these apps except for antivirus. So with Twilio, you would need to bring your own license and set up the integration for free. And again, I'll drop this KB on exactly how to do that.
Awesome. Thanks, Tatiana. I do have a couple that are just feature requests. So could we get an option for a color code on ticket notes to differentiate who is posting the notes easily, just if you're skimming through, or does something exist? It doesn't currently. The only thing that comes close to this on color coding is from your ticket dashboard. You can color code that based on different statuses, but we'll pass that along. And then we do not currently have an integration with Quoteworks either, Craig. I know we say this a lot, but we pass these feature requests on to our team every single open office hours, but it really helps us if you submit a ticket to help@syncromsp.com and put why it is that you want these, and just explain a little bit further. Does it help you do your job more efficiently? Does it cut down on time? Does it help you make more money? That's really, really helpful to our team. It's a big focus right now. And there's also a mug giveaway going on in our Facebook group if you're in there, for submitting quality of life features, small quality of life features that would help you guys out. They're shipping one each month. I think it's each month. It seems sooner than that. But anyways, you could get in on that competition too. It's pretty neat to see what everyone has on there. And then we've got Brianna asking, hi, I'm new here and wondering if there's a way to add multiple text to a single ticket. Really good question, and welcome to Synchro. So there's not a way from within inside of a ticket to just go assign this to multiple technicians here. What you do have the option of doing is you can make someone a subscriber of this particular ticket, and they can get updates anytime these tickets are updated or anything like that. So what I would do is this ticket is not currently assigned to me. I can go up to actions and I can subscribe to this. Now I become a subscriber and I'm going to get updates for this. You can have multiple technicians be subscribers here. So that's what I would suggest doing. I do think a while back someone had mentioned, or probably multiple people, but adding multiple texts to a ticket, and we will gladly pass that along. I can see how that would be beneficial, but this is kind of a workaround in the meantime, is just to have those technicians go subscribe to that particular ticket. I hope that helps.
Awesome. Thank you, Brandy. Question from Jimmy. Are custom asset fields editable or only through scripts? I can't edit these fields such as checking a box. Another RMM has an option when creating custom fields to mark it as editable or not. So let me just go ahead and I'm going to share my screen because there might be a couple things going on that I thought might be worth just talking about here really quick. One, if you're in an asset, you can see all of the custom fields right here, but like you're saying, just like it's not clickable here. You actually have to just head and edit the asset, and then that way you can edit any custom field that you want. If you don't have access to this, it might be because of a security group setting. So if you don't have access to edit a custom field, I would talk to your global admin to maybe update your security group settings. And then the other question that I marked was, David was curious on the invoices. Are you saying that we can get rid of verbiage discounted time on labor products and services? So yes, I'm saying I'm saying that by using those, by using those preferences in ticket settings, you can customize exactly what is brought over for that labor description from the ticket onto the invoice. So hopefully that is helpful.
Awesome. Thank you, Crystal. Next one at the top here is from Andy. He says, hi, can you quickly, oh, I'm sorry, I already answered this. Real quick clarification for you guys. It's actually pronounced Twilio, not Twilio. So just in case anybody asks you in person, that is how you should actually pronounce it. So real quick, I wanted a clarification from David. He says posting a link in chat won't work because chat is disabled. I did drop it into the chat section. Are you guys able to see any of those KBs? Please let me know, because that's important to us that you can actually see the things that we are sending you. Next one at the top here is from a follow-up from Andy. This is the one I was originally intending to answer. He says, thanks for the SMS info. If you assign a customer contact to the ticket, does SMS use their number and not the one that might be allocated to the customer? I believe it does have to, within Synchro's built-in SMS capabilities, I do believe that is going to go to just that main mobile number that you list on the profile. I personally haven't used Twilio myself, so I'm not 100% sure if there's a way to customize that to go to the contact. I'll double check the KB, and again, hopefully you guys can see the links that we are sharing with you.
Tatiana, since you're talking about SMS so much, there's another question down here that I'm just going to read out loud, and I think you probably are better suited to answer this, but is there any way to enable SMS for a customer so you can manually send messages on a ticket but not have the system automated generated SMS messages sent out? I don't want to clear the templates, as I do want to use them with other clients, but I have had one client specifically request to turn off the automated notifications, but both the client and I still want to be able to text them from the ticket when needed.
Good question. I don't think
you have, yeah, I'm also wondering if there's any, like, if you have that tied to automated remediations, like if they're automated and you have it set up to where it's sending an SMS message on there, you could also specify per customer. So you could choose who gets.
I think the automated ones, though, I think that's like a global, like,
ticket updates and stuff.
Yeah, that's
within the PDF and email and SMS templates.
Exactly. So I don't think that's a per customer. I think that's a super valid feature request, though. So we'll jot that down. Sorry to interrupt. I just thought since we were on the SMS, I would touch that one. The other one I've got, and it's kind of along the same lines of our notification center. Derek wants to know, can you walk through how ticket notifications work from a customer point of view? I'm finding sometimes emails go out in response and sometimes they don't. Can you go through the default logic that Synchro uses? So there's a lot, I think, to this response, just because I'm going to, let me share my screen really quick. There's a few things, because if you go to your admin section, there's a couple areas where you're going to want to just double check what settings you have. So if you go to tickets and preferences, I believe it's on this. So like there's a few things like this is like the diagnosis reminders, like whether you want those to be sending to your customers on an hourly basis. And then in addition to that, I think there's also like sending, like, do not email initial issues by default, do not email comments by default. So there's several settings here that I would just make sure that you have them set up the way that you want it to act. And then from an actual ticket, we've actually made quite a bit of updates here, and I love these updates. So I'm just going to show this off just in general, because I think it's awesome. But in a ticket, when you are communicating with your customer, like, you do have the option to choose how you want that to look for your customer. So maybe you don't want to email them the update. Maybe you want it to just be a private note or whatever that might be. But what's nice is that you can also, it's kind of like a 2-for-1, because you can email your customer and you can change statuses now. So we did add this. I love this update so much. So just wanted to mention that I think it's probably the preferences in the ticket settings that you'd want to just make sure you have dialed in based upon what you want your customers, how often you want them to be notified, that kind of thing. All right, that's it for me.
Awesome. Thank you, Crystal. Craig, can a subscriber add time to the ticket as well? They can. So absolutely, they can add time to the ticket. And then Justin, this is just an FYI. He's sharing information. Thank you, Justin. He just said in Synchro, built-in SMS, the text will go to the contact, not the customer, if the contact has the mobile number. So thank you for that.
Awesome. Yeah, I dropped the knowledge base article into the chat as well, and I'll ask our team to see if we can update that to include those details about the contact, because I personally, again, with our demo account, it doesn't send SMS messages, so I appreciate you sharing that with us, Justin. Next question is from Anonymous. They say, is there documentation where we can see what different template tags are controlling or connected to? I will share my screen and show you guys what we do have available in that previous section that I showed you guys earlier today. If you go over to the admin section under ticket preferences and then additional settings and scroll all the way down to the bottom, these ticket timer charges, there is a KB for those. So it'll list basically which ticket template tags are going to be associated with ticket timer charges or with regular ticket tags. So this KB will list those. Beyond that, there isn't like one specific KB that I can share with you guys that'll say this ticket tag will work in these, 7 different places where you can put them within Synchro. So if that is something that would be useful to you guys, please do let us know and I'll pass that along to the team.
Sweet. We'll keep these questions flowing, everyone. We're happy to answer. Like I said, don't be shy. One thing I think is really cool, I'm just curious, maybe just get some feedback from the group. We released Registry Editor in Synchro Live, and I mean, it's pretty awesome. Just curious what you guys think of it. Oh, there's a question in there now, but yeah, just if you love the Registry Editor, says Evan, so that's awesome. Just curious to know like who's using it, any glows, love to pass that on to the team, or if there is any requests, also happy to hear those as well. Question from Sean, Wake on Land feature, what's the trick to getting it to work? So I guess, so you're saying that when you actually do Wake on Land, it's not working? Because if it's not working, that's definitely something I would submit a ticket to technical support, because I haven't heard of issues of it not working. So just for those of you that haven't seen Wake on Land, I think if I just go to any of these machines that are offline, right, I should be able to, there. So if it's offline, I mean, this is a virtual machine, so I can't really like live demonstrate this. But for Wake on Land, we need another asset to be online. Oh, Anonymous says for Wake on Land, you need another asset to be online. So by nature, Wake on Land requires another device on the network to be online to send that packet. So I guess that if that answers, hopefully, I love it when the crew that's hanging out in here answers questions for me. Awesome, thank you. Let's see here. I gotta clean this up. What else do we have in here? Yes, anything we can do and not bother the end user is great. I love that. Yes, our backgrounding tools are phenomenal in Synchro Live. They're so good.
I'm passing all of these messages along. That's why I'm quiet in the background. I'm passing it on to our team so that they can see the love for Registry Editor, because the more they know you guys like it, the more good stuff that's going to be coming. So I like to share with them.
Yes, absolutely. Go ahead, Tatiana.
Question from Brian says he's is there a way to add more tabs to display in Synchro? Seems like you can display more tabs in Repair Shelter. Good eye. What he's talking about is these tabs right here. Right now, these are pretty set in stone. You can customize what appears in this menu here. So in the admin section, if you go over to your tabs customization, you can kind of reorganize what those look like, remove the ones that you don't use. But yes, you do have the capability in here to edit them, but you cannot add more to this list. I'll pass it along as a feature request this time.
Awesome.
Evan said he mentioned in the Facebook group, I'd love for the invoice and estimate line item sections to get a facelift. So awesome you mentioned it in the Facebook group, especially right now. If you guys saw Andy's post where he's asking for quality of life features, they are reading every single thing. And last night when I looked, there were like over 300 comments. And I promise you, like our CTO, you know, people are looking at that stuff. So love it.
Yeah, it's really great. And then, and also for those of you, because a couple of you have said you're brand new, and again, welcome. If you're not part of our Facebook group, I would definitely recommend it. It's a super active group. It's a great way to just ask questions that might be best practices type of questions. Like, hey, you know, I'm a 3-seat MSP. What are you doing for this? Like that is, it's a great resource, and our community is pretty awesome. So I definitely would recommend that. And then also one of the things I didn't say at the beginning is that these are all recorded. So if this is your first time or you want to kind of go back and watch some of the other ones, we have all of these recorded on our YouTube channel as well. All right, what do we got going on in Q&A? So funny, it goes in waves. It was like empty a second ago, and then I just looked over and now it's full again. Who's first?
I'm just responding to one of these on a message.
This is a fun one from Alf. He said, responding from my vacation in sunny Lyon in south of France. Fancy. Awesome. Welcome. Thank you for joining us while you're on vacation, just following on a cell phone. Had a chance to look at the new registry. It's really awesome. Don't need a Screen Connect backstage anymore. Everything from Synchro is very cool and a time saver. I agree. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. I'll grab one here. The one below that is from Russ. He says, I sent an estimate on was approved by user. I wanted to reply back with, I will call later. Can you reply back to an estimate that was accepted? Good question. Let's take a look. I don't know if there's like a communication section within the estimates. I haven't specifically looked for that, but let's take a look together. So within the estimates, I know once your customer has approved, you have the capability to either convert it into an invoice if you're billing for this project up front, or you can also create a new ticket and start moving forward with actually doing the work that needs to be done. So it looks like you can email from here. And it looks like related tickets will be linked here, but yes, looks like you can email straight from here. I think probably the easiest would be to just convert it into a ticket, and then you have the full functionality that's built into here once the ticket gets created. So hopefully that helps answer your question.
I was going to grab one here from David. I have accounts where billable labor, non-billable labor gets credited 100%, and I show how much they are billed, and there is a line item for that credit that I have to fill out manually. Is there a way to have that automatically credited while having custom projects, monthly charges, product charges being billed? So not in the exact way that you have it set up right now. If you want the actual line item to show the amount and then a credit, that's going to be something that you would have to manually do. The other way to do that, again, it's not going to display the same way if your customers are used to seeing it that way. But this is a very common use case for using contracts. So for example, if I'm just going to go with Larry's business here, contract. So for example, this is kind of a good example. So if like all of their labor is considered under their contract, or you show that you did that labor, but you're not actually charging for it, that is one really strong use case for our contract pricing. So you can just say, for this customer, labor is always going to be 0. You can add it as a pending ticket charge. It'll pull onto an invoice. But the line item will show 0, but it'll still show the amount of time that was spent. So that's one way to like handle that type of a billing model. And then of course you can have project labor or out of office or like out of hours labor or something like that, and have it bill so that you're always adding pending ticket charges, and some zero out and some do not. So again, this would be changing the way that your reoccurring invoices look to your customers. Like it wouldn't have a line of credit, but this is the way that you could automate that within Synchro. So hopefully that helps.
Awesome. Thank you, Crystal. So there's a couple questions in here. So Rafi's asking, we're going live with Invoicing and Synchro shortly, month in September. If we need some handholding, is that available from the support team? So there's a couple of things here. We don't offer like a one-on-one onboarding, if you will, to set these types of things up, which is why we have open office hours. So if you guys even have a super specific, like, this is how I set up my invoice, I bill this way, this way, this way, can you show me how to do that? We will absolutely take the time to show you that. We do have a session on Tuesdays as well that it's typically for trial users, but it is more of a hand-holding session. There aren't as many of you guys in there. It's not meant to be an in-depth conversation. So if you do have feature requests and things like that, Fridays are definitely better for you. But if you need a little more hand-holding, you could absolutely attend. On Tuesday, you can also reach out to your sales representative, whoever's assigned to you, your account representative. If you have specific questions, again, we are happy to help. And if you do run into any issues, our support team is absolutely there. They will point you in the right direction if something's not going right or you have questions about anything. Absolutely, they're amazing and they are going to help you. We don't want you to be stranded, and we try to make it easy. You know, if we try to make it intuitive, and we've got really nice KPIs, but there's going to be questions, and that's what we're all here for. So yes, never shy away from reaching out to support or one of us either. We would love to help you there. And then I'll just grab a couple questions in here. So Craig is asking, will Synchro Live ever support multi-monitor to multi-monitor? I don't know, to be honest. I'm happy to pass that along. We will pass that to our team, of course. And then Neil is asking, can you auto respond to a paid invoice to say thanks for the payment? So I'm just going to pull up something really quickly because we do have, if you pop over into the admin section in your PDF and email templates, I just went into my email templates, and there is one for a paid invoice. So you can edit this. You can also view what it would look like. And this is sent basically after someone pays and shows their paid invoice. So you can customize what this says if you would like to. So I would absolutely use that.
Yeah, good call. And I think I saw the setting on reoccurring invoices too, to just have that automatically. I mean, you can choose if you don't want that to send, you could choose that, but yeah, it's on that reoccurring invoice. I was just going to grab this one. Is there any plans to do some sort of vulnerability assessment implementation? So I'm assuming you're meaning something like ID agent or something like that, where maybe it's more of like a sales tool to prospect, which we get the request often, and I think ID agent is one of those that we do get the request often. Happy to pass that along. One really great thing is that I guess it kind of depends on if this is already at one of your customers and you have the agent installed on all of the endpoints anyways. We do have some great reporting, and updates to reporting are on the way and in the works. And so we're just going to continue to make that better and better for you. So of course, once the agent's already on there, definitely we've got some really cool stuff on the way. But as far as like a third-party tool, happy to pass that request along.
Awesome. Great question. I am going to go ahead and share my screen and answer a couple of questions for you guys. Real quick, when we were talking about the resources for different ways to set up your invoices and billing too, I wanted to mention Crystal did a deep dive last week for different types of billing models we support. So if you guys are still in the exploration phase, you want to see the different capabilities you have with the type of automations we have built in for invoicing, this is going to be a great resource for you. Also, if you go over to our YouTube channel and under the playlists, I always point this out to everybody that I have a demo with that has questions about invoicing. We have this billing training video playlist here that will walk you through basically step by step on exactly how to set up the type of business model that you have for your customers. So just wanted to mention that there as well. Question here at the top is from Russ. He says, does that email re-email the estimate? So when I see what you're saying. I think actually it will. When we were talking about estimates, I think that is what that email portion is used for in this section here. Yes, because it'll attach the estimate PDF. I guess if you unselect it, I would test this obviously before sending it to your customer, but I think you could just include a message right in here without sending the PDF. So that's one option there. I also went ahead and when I created a ticket from this estimate, I kind of followed through and created the ticket. What's helpful here is when you create a ticket from the estimate, it will obviously pull over those charges, which is super helpful. In a private note, it will link that this was based off of an estimate, which is helpful. And again, here's your communication section. You can let your customer know in whatever way that makes the most sense for you guys. Also within the customer portal, they'll be able to see the ticket right here. They'll be able to see that the estimate is attached, and then they can view the PDF of both of those there. So hopefully that points you in the right direction. Next question here is from Craig. He says, using a Windows patch management policy and only applying security updates, is there a way to manually check for updates to see what is available outside of security updates and doing this within Synchro? There's two reports I always recommend when anybody asks me about Windows patches within Synchro. They're both super helpful. And I'll show you what this looks like on a per endpoint basis as well. So the first one here is going to be your missing patches by KB report. The second one is the vulnerable systems report. First one here will give you a list of KBs and tell you across how many endpoints they're missing. So this will not filter based on which category they fall under, but just a total running list of missing KBs basically. And when you're ready, when you've run your tests, you're good to go, you feel confident these are not going to break anything for you, you can go ahead and install those in bulk across all your endpoints, which is super helpful there. Second report is kind of the inverse of that first one. It'll show you which assets are missing how many KBs. So it's a good troubleshooting one. You can have this one running on a schedule if you wanted to where it'll say, you know, these three probably need a little bit of attention. So hopefully that helps point you in the right direction, Craig, in seeing kind of which KBs are missing and how to kind of move forward with those.
Awesome. Thank you so much for showing that, because that's also answering a follow-up question for the anonymous attendee, scanning and detecting it on assets and patches that should be applied. So yeah, that vulnerable systems report is really good for that. And then Brian says, sorry, I'm late. It's okay. Sorry if this question has been asked. Status for chat on mobile. All I'm going to say is stay tuned on that one, please. And that's all I will say. And then let's see here. David saying back to the invoice being able to show how much he's done and then put a credit so that they see the worth. I understand, like, as I 100% get it, that if you're doing your job properly as an MSP, a lot of times it is difficult to be able to represent your value. I do think pulling in pending ticket charges, even if they're zeroed out and your customers can see how many hours you've spent, I think that holds a lot of value. In addition to that, one report that I love, because it goes into so much detail that if your customer is questioning at all what you're doing on a daily basis, a monthly basis, sending them this customer detail report outside, like what you can do is you can, once you've run this report, you can then schedule this. So you can have this send on the same day as the reoccurring invoice. It goes into crazy amounts of detail. You guys are laughing. Am I missing something? They're going into crazy amounts of detail. So maybe, again, you can see, like, I spent this much time and this is what I did. Maybe you could send this report along with your reoccurring invoice to really help represent your value there. Okay, what did I miss?
I'm laughing because Tony said, question for Brandy, what's the status of chat on mobile?
The shade.
No, Brandy.
No, I am not that person anymore. Oh, that's too funny. Yeah, I don't know, actually. I have removed myself from looking at things that are happening because I don't want to share before I can. Anyways, Randy, I have an issue with payments made in QuickBooks Online. They're not applying properly to Synchro. Is there a way to, in Synchro, to mark invoices as paid? So you absolutely can. You can mark invoices as paid. You can just take a payment, or you can do the quick payment and it's going to be paid. It will sync back. You'll see now, if I just do the quick payment, it says paid, and it will sync as paid into QuickBooks Online. But the QuickBooks Online, if it's, the payments should be a two-way sync. So I would want that working properly for you, so you don't have to do that. It's just the click of two buttons, but still, if you haven't already, and you probably have, but I would probably reach out to support and just see, what are you missing? Unfortunately, we don't have a way of troubleshooting and looking at your guys's instances, so they would definitely be better equipped to help you with that one. Absolutely. And then manual. So can you mix and match licensing? Text get MSP and back office only get PSA. Not currently. We hear you guys. This is definitely something that's been requested. And I do think in the future, again, no ETA on this, I promise. But that there will be an option to have, a limited user type of a license. This is something that we've discussed internally, and I don't know where that is in the process yet, but we understand, because you guys might have, part-time assistants. You might have someone who does scheduling or billing. So we definitely get that, and we will pass that along. I think every vote helps for this, but not currently. And then I'll just grab one more for Sean. So I need some direction. So far, I have onboarded multiple clients, added endpoints, added Screen Connect, added IT Glue. Unfortunately, Sean, I'm not able to look at your instance, and I am off work today, but I will absolutely help you. I will always help anyone who needs it. I am going to send you the Getting Started with Synchro guide, and I'm actually just going to drop that in the chat box because I think it's a great resource for everyone. There's some really nice KBs in there, and I kind of like to go through the list of, okay, I've done this, 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 and this. It's our version of like Synchro University, if you will, just to make sure that you've got everything set up. So let me send you a few resources that I think will help, and I'll drop those in the chat box. And of course, if you have additional questions, then you can always reach out to me. You'll get a response.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brandy. Next question here is from Justin. He says, when you add an asset and RMM counter line item to a recurring invoice, there doesn't seem to be any way to use either the price of the item or which asset type or asset search was used to create that line item once it's been added to the invoice. Is this really not shown anywhere, or am I just blind? LOL. There are no stupid questions. Please send them all our way. I don't think you're missing anything, and I will share my screen and show you guys what he's talking about. So when you go to a recurring invoice, what he's talking about is this section right here when you're adding the different line item types, whether you're selecting the asset and RMM counter, pulling in the product, and then using the dynamic counters to help automate your billing here, or whether you're, utilizing the asset search here too. Once you add this asset search, I don't think it's referenced down here. One tip that I do have for you though is if you are using the asset and RMM counter and you have these dynamic accounts sitting here, I recommend kind of just, if you don't automatically email the customer and just wait for the invoice to be generated, you can obviously review the invoice once it has been generated. So it will have this kind of double arrow icon like you see here, and then you can go and take a closer look at the actual invoice to see the charges associated with that. You do have the capability, if you're billing based off of the policy, to see. So if you're selecting here the RMM package and you select if you're offering like good or better best type of product offerings, you can see which costs are associated with that package type. If you go over to your assets and RMM section, and then under view and also under pricing packages, that will show you what cost is linked with that specific policy or which price is linked with that policy. But yes, at this time, there isn't a way to kind of preview the invoice before it gets generated. It does have to get created by this template first, and then you can preview it here with the actual numbers. These are editable as well, so if you need to make any changes mid-month or whatever it might be, you can do that as well. Hopefully that helps answer your question. And then next one here is from Sean. He says, by default, does Synchro automatically apply Windows patches? Since I moved from SolarWinds, I'm noticing my endpoints are installing patches and rebooting. I'd like to approve Windows updates manually. Really good question. I will show you very quickly in the policies, and I'll also send you a link. Actually, it's been 2 months. I can't believe it's been that long. What is happening with time. But yes, I recently did a deep dive on Windows Patch Management and exactly how to set it up. So I'll link that into the chat box. Actually, I think I already did. But basically, if you go over to your policies and you are setting up your Windows Patch policies or Windows updates, you have the capability in here to choose which patch categories you would like to allow to install. The rest of them are going to filter in as missing. So when you're setting these up, again, when you're selecting patch categories to install, the ones you so for example, I'm going to select just these random 5. And what this will mean is every time Windows pushes a patch that falls under this category, it will automatically be approved based on the settings that you select in here. So you can specify a schedule, you can tell Synchro how you want it to respond if there's a reboot required. So what will happen to the rest of these that you've left blank is they are going to start filtering in as missing in the Windows Patch Management section on the individual asset level. And I'll show you what that looks like as well. If you go over to any endpoint, you'll notice that there's a section in here called Windows Patches. And again, here's all those missing patches. If anything is being not allowed to install, that's going to be listed right in here. And then you can either push them individually on this individual asset level or use that report I already showed you guys earlier today in the report section to push those patches in bulk. So again, I dropped this into the chat box if you are curious, and you can take a look, or you can also reach out to your rep. We are happy to answer all those questions for you.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm going to grab a few. I've got one from Randy. I have a client that has asked for a list of computers that have X software installed. In this case, any version of Office before Office 365. I can't find a report that shows this by computer. I've tried asset search, but you cannot export items from the asset screen. So let me just share my screen really quick, because I just want to make sure we're on the same page. You can create a saved asset search and actually search for any sort of like version of installed application and version type, so you can get a very clearly defined saved asset search. And then actually, if I'm not mistaken, anything that's in this list, if you go to actions and export, all those, that will export into a CSV. And unless I'm off, you guys let me know. But yes, you can export things off of the assets and RMM screen, and you can use those saved asset searches to do that. In addition to that, I don't know if this would actually show exactly what your customers need to see, but we do have a really nice asset audit report as well. We have several different reports that might work just based upon your specific need. But definitely I would take a look. Like there's there's a software inventory, so you can get a list of everything that's installed across all of the machines. But hopefully either one of those, especially if you need to clearly define a saved asset search, you can export that into a CSV. I'm going to grab one more that I see in here because I think it's pretty quick. Craig wants to know, if we purchase WebRoot from Synchro, is there a direct link to the console? Can you show this process? So as far as I know, there is not a direct link to the WebRoot console. So unless you guys know anything different, the main thing here is that I'm sure you've seen this, but when you enable WebRoot from the App Center, and you can either start a new WebRoot account or bring your existing WebRoot account. But once you've done that, you can then have the ability to install WebRoot straight from the policy. So it just streamlines that process super efficiently. But as far as a link straight to the console, I I'm not, let's see here. I'm not thinking there's a direct link. All right, go ahead.
Awesome, thank you. So I see a question in here from Craig. When I set up Office 365 calendar two-way sync, it took a couple of hours. Will this delay be resolved sooner? Is it just because of initial setup? So I did confirm with our support team that they are working on updates to the integration. We don't have an ETA at the time, but the sync delay is absolutely something that they're targeting to improve. So definitely in the works there. And then I'll go ahead and grab Justin's question too. He said, I know you can create a license that is limited to a single customer to give a client tech access to our Synchro instance. You can also set up regular license that has access to all customers. Is there anything in between? More than one, but less than all. Not currently. It's either single customer permissions or all customers. That is definitely something that's been requested. And for those of you who don't know, single customer permissions is awesome, especially in a time like this. You probably have customers that do have an internal IT department. And if they need access to their own tickets and their own devices and things like that, but they just pass along, higher tickets or things that they can't complete, or maybe their overflow to you, you can set them up as a user in Synchro and just give them access to their own company. And even from there, you're able to set up different restrictions and what they have access to. You can see all their data, they can't see yours, of course. So I'm going to pop the single customer permissions KB in the chat because I think it's definitely worth looking at for those of you who didn't know.
Awesome. Thank you, Brandy. Question here from Manuel. He says, for recurring invoices, when does the synchronization happen with QuickBooks Online? After an invoice is sent, or when is it generated? Will it sync again? And should you need to make changes after it is sent? So I'm going to share my screen and I'll show you guys the KB so that we are looking at the same thing. So this section is the one that I highlighted here, is the one that's going to be relevant to answering your question. So yes, if you are creating invoices on the Synchro side, they will be created on the QuickBooks Online side. They will also be updated in updates are going to be live for Synchro and QuickBooks Online specifically. And so as far as I know, it should be happening pretty immediately. It will pop up as soon as the invoice is created, not after the invoice is emailed, because again, sometimes people prefer to use all the automations that we have built in on the recurring invoices, and they choose to email from Synchro, accept payment within Synchro, and then just automatically have all that type of information syncing over to QuickBooks Online. And then others prefer to still use the automated line items that we have built in on the recurring invoices here, create the invoice. As soon as it's created, it will pop up in the QuickBooks Online section, and then you are able to email from there, accept payment. So it's flexible to accommodate whatever your preferences are there, and update changes should be updated very quickly with QuickBooks Online. If you're seeing something different, please reach out to help@synchromsp.com. Question here from Sean. He says, do you work with any third-party consultants? I'd like to speed up my onboarding and learning, losing time and getting pretty anxious. So not at this time. We don't have someone specific that we can recommend. I think the Facebook group, as the ladies have mentioned, is a great resource because you can ask people who are already paying for Synchro, who have already went through the setup process, who are MSPs that are probably dealing with the same types of customers you are. They have probably run into the same questions that you have. That's a great free resource for you, is leaning on the community. You can lean on us as your sales representatives. We are here to help in any way that we can. We'll send you all the resources that we can. We'll get your questions answered. You can also ask our support. So at this time, no consultants that we have in mind that we can wholeheartedly recommend. Last one here is from Manuel. He says, is there a way to generate a saved asset search by customer? Would love to be able to just select the customer with their assets. Not at this time. I don't think there is a way, because if I go over to the assets and RMM section, there isn't a way to pull in the customer into this section here. I can't think of any ways around that at this time. There isn't a way to specify the customer in this section. I'm wondering if you do I guess if you created the saved asset search, I'll just test this as we are talking here and see if you have the capability to do that here. If you search, I wonder if it'll still keep just these. Yeah, looks like you could do it that way, but it wouldn't be a saved search based on the customer. So you could create a saved asset search with whatever information you're looking to filter, and then you can type in the customer information and search that way. Hopefully that will help.
Sweet. Justin says regarding WebRoot. Oh, come on. If we can get Pax8 in an iframe, can't we get WebRoot as well? So yeah, our Pax8 integration is pretty amazing. I was just going to grab just a couple of really quick ones from Craig. Can you use assets to manage software renewals and or any other licensing renewals? I think for the most, I mean, we have Warranty Master as an integration, and I think that a lot of folks use that. Of course, you could use custom fields and, you know, keep dates there, but not necessarily like a full-fledged licensing renewal solution, I guess. Is there any other, should I grab really quick? I was just going to grab this really quick. I don't think so. I don't know. If you sync to QuickBooks Online, do you guys know if QuickBooks Online can be configured to automatically email out those invoices? I'm not familiar enough with QuickBooks Online to be able to answer that. Maybe, but if anyone else listening, if QuickBooks Online, if you know, can auto send out emails of invoices that originated in Synchro, let us know.
Super good question. And yeah, I think the one before the software renewals, I would use custom fields, because you could have a manual asset and make that your software renewals and add a date. You can get a notification 7 days or 30 days before that date range expires. So it's kind of a manual way, but you can absolutely do it. And then David says, I saw that Synchro has a way to install the client through a website that users could install Synchro. Is there a way to have additional softwares downloaded to their computer and products automatically installed during that process? So the answer is technically yes, because what you're doing, and David, I'm happy to send you the information because it can get kind of interesting. The process isn't perfect, so I really don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but they can install Synchro on their own, and they can select a specific policy. And so within that, or whatever policy you give them access to, right? You could have a link that gives them access to installing the device on their own, and it would then have, okay, here's your Chrome and Firefox and whatever else you need to install at that time. So it's essentially still just installing anything you would normally do on a policy, but I can send you information on that if you want.
Awesome, thank you, Brandy. Quick tip here from Brian. Look at this, you guys. This is a great idea, and I appreciate you sharing this. So Brian says, for the saved asset search by customer, he has each customer have their own policy, and then a saved asset search. Just search for that saved asset search by the policy. So that is super smart. Again, what he's talking about here is if you organize your policies where you have one policy per customer, for example, like Larry's customers, and one for each of them, you do have the capability, that is one of the search criteria, that you can pull into the saved asset searches by customer in here, wherever Larry's is in here. So yes, super smart. Love that suggestion. Thank you.
Sweet. We're running out of time. I'm going to blow through a couple of these. Randy's suggestion for the QuickBooks Online question is to use Zapier. So thank you for that. Justin wants to know, is there any way to filter the ticket screen to only show tickets for a specific contact? So as far as I know, the last time I looked at this, I think this is a feature request, if I remember correctly, but if you're in tickets, you can add contact as a column, and you can sort from contact by using customize. You can add contact here, but I don't think the contact alone is like a filterable thing. Okay, that's it.
Okay, Andy, real quick, can you show how to get a notification based on date field in an asset? Yes, so in your notification center in the admin section, Under asset, you will see has a date field of 30 days in the future or a date of 7 days in the future. And then you can pick and choose how you want to get notified on that. So when you create your custom fields, and since there's no questions in here, I'll just go ahead and pop into this. So asset custom fields, I just have a date range, and I just created one the other day for someone on a demo, expiration date. So I just have a date field here, and anytime this was getting within 7 days or 30 days, then I would get a notification on that. So hopefully that helps.
That is awesome. I had no idea that was there.
Super awesome, especially like, I mean, because there's not another way really to get notifications on it through automation, like automated remediations or ticket automation. So
Yeah.
you use that and you want to have software renewals or your MSP contract, you know, whatever it is.
Perfect.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We flew through that hour once again. Thank you so much for joining us. Please come back next week. Have a wonderful weekend.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.